Hi, students. We're very happy to have with us here Audrey Thomas, who is the Director of Data and Institutional Research at the Division of Undergraduate Education here at UC Berkeley. We're very fortunate. Audrey, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, EOS. It's
Yeah.
great to be here.
So, Audrey, tell us, tell us more about your current role as Director of Data and Institutional Research and how you got into this role here at UC Berkeley.
For sure. Yeah. So I'll start with some of our big projects. Some
Mhm.
of you students may have heard of the Student Pulse Survey, which is something that I'm the program manager of. And it's a cross-campus initiative with the Division of Student Affairs, the Graduate Division, and the Division of Undergraduate Education to get timely information from our student body in order to make decisions to make decisions to help the students have a better experience. So these happen twice a semester, and it is, like I said, a campus-wide effort. So there's a lot of coordination across different divisions, which is really exciting. Another thing that I work on is campus-wide strategy. So our leaders are very interested in making data-informed decisions. So one of the things that we as a campus have been struggling with is increasing numbers of undergraduate students. As the number of undergraduates increases, sometimes classes are impacted. So
Mm,
I do a lot of work thinking about the strategy of where to put resources in order to move students through the university in a timely fashion. And oh, go ahead. Yes, do you have a question?
that's really cool because, right, sometimes when we think of researchers, people always think, oh, you just write reports and so on. But you're more like really these drive like fast decisions in a way, right? So this element of time, I think, is so
Yes.
crucial. Okay, do you want to speak more to that?
I would love to. So,
Mhm.
and this goes a little bit towards my path to get to where I am. So, I have a PhD in sociology from Harvard University. And I remember my first day in the doctoral program, the head advisor said, "You are here to become professors at R1 institutions." And I was like, I don't think I'm in the right place. Um, it's just academia moves at a pretty slow pace and
Hmm.
for good reason. We want to make sure that we're building knowledge, right? Like we're reading everything that's out there and we're contributing to basic science. That is not the work that I do. I really wanted to just get in there. I want to make changes. I want to pilot things and to be in a space that's a little bit faster moving. And so, like you were saying, EOS, with the Student Pulse Survey, we get information. It's not perfect. It's a population survey, so everyone's invited to take it, but not everybody does.
Mhm.
So we just make decisions based on this imperfect information. And
Mhm.
that's okay because usually they're pretty small decisions.
Mhm.
And then with these campus-wide strategies, a lot of the work that I'm doing is building tools to identify issues. So we
Mhm.
might take a look at the way that students flow through a specific major. Let's say it's physics. And we're hearing that students are having trouble passing Math 51. But then we go in and we say, well, how many students can get into the class? And
Mm.
then how do the students do when they're in the class? And then how many students progress to the next step?
Mhm.
And so we can really like get granular. And what we
Mm.
did is create like this flow chart to show
Yeah.
students flowing through the curriculum because we want students to be successful. You know, what are supports that we can put into place at different places to move them through?
Yeah. This very exciting, and this idea of what you emphasized earlier that if you thought that you can use the skills that you get from the programs that we're in with the personality that you have, right? Because some people
Hmm.
are like, they're very methodical and they want to be very careful, very systematic. But some people are like me and you, who are very impatient. We want to do stuff. We want to change the world. We're Berkeley change makers, if you will, right? And bringing that in, I think is great. Now, with that, we have students in this program that are really trying to prepare themselves for
Mhm.
jobs like yours. And what sorts of key technical and professional skills do you think are needed by people that you will hire in your team and by
Mhm.
people who work like you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it might be some things that you're not expecting.
Hmm.
So, one is that I'm always the number one thing I'm looking for is a learner mindset. So, I need someone who's going to be able to learn new skills because new technical tools are always coming out. So, we need to be able to change with the times.
Mhm.
And people who are excited about that, that's great. Folks who want to just keep working in Excel for the rest of their lives,
Yeah.
that's going to be really tough. So we need people who are like, I'm interested in learning. I want to be on a
Yeah.
team that is learning with me.
What
And
what
then,
have
yeah,
been the new tools that you've been encountering? I think because my students will be familiar with Python and R and
yeah.
Stata and Excel. But what are the other tools out there that they should be familiar with?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you named all the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think that leaning into Python is going to be very important moving forward because it's open source and it's very powerful. It can
Mm.
just do so much. So learning those libraries that have to do with data science is going to pay off. Um, the other part of that is the visualization.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some open source visualization tools out there that I would suggest folks learn. But
Mm-hmm.
then there are the things that are listed on the job descriptions for the jobs that are out there right now, like Tableau, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So getting to know the tools that are available now, but being open to new tools and getting ahead of the curve by getting into these open source tools.
Mm. Yeah. And hopefully some of these tools they're learning in their masters in computational social science, right?
Yes, that would be fantastic. The other tool that the skill that you might not think about very much is an ability to tell a story. So
Mm.
data can only do so much. And there's always the need for the data to guide people. And visualization is part of that, but you have to have already the story,
Mm-hmm.
not before you collect the data. But when
Mm.
you look at the data, it's telling you something. And the way that you present it is telling your audience something. You
Mm.
want to be very cognizant of that. And a lot of times, the people that you're telling this story to are not technical. So you'll want to tell the story in a way that is compelling and simple so that they see what your point is and you don't have to go through
Mm-hmm.
some very technical explanation.
So practically speaking, for these things, like, right, are you going to be presenting to the dean of undergraduate education, or the is it associate vice provost for undergraduate education, and show what does this look like practically speaking
Yeah,
for you?
that's such a good question, EOS. It takes a lot of different forms.
Mm,
So a lot of times there'll be a static report, and you
mm,
want to make sure that it's accessible. That's one thing. You want to build an accessible report. Don't remediate an inaccessible report. So
mm,
make sure that you are following those guidelines. So a lot of times it'll be a static report that's posted on a web page and that people maybe in a task force or initiative can reference. And then another thing is a data dashboard that people can interact with and figure out the data that they need. So, for example, with the student pulse survey, there's a data dashboard, and maybe I work in the Center for Financial Wellness and I want to know what workshops should I put on and who are my target audience for those
mm,
workshops. Then they can kind of figure out the data that they need. And then there are presentations to maybe the Council of College Deans, certainly to the Vice Provost of Undergraduate Education, whom I work for. And then a lot of these task forces that
Mhm.
are spun up for specific initiatives.
Oh, and you become part of that because they need data from your office.
Right. Yeah, yeah. So then I would come on, just staff the committee and present the data that have to do with the question that they asked.
Yeah, very exciting. Are there
Hmm.
other skills that you think is important?
Oh gosh, I thought I gave you such good skills
Yeah,
already.
you already have. You already have. Just wanted to make sure that we're good with it.
Yeah, I would say the other part that is important is being collaborative and
Mm,
open to critical feedback. In any job, you're going to make mistakes if you're working on your own. When you work with a group, folks are going to come with their different perspectives and their different knowledge, and your work product will always be better for sharing it with your
mhm,
colleagues. So it's really critical to have trusted colleagues on your team or even outside of your team who you can count on to give you that critical feedback to be thought partners.
mhm. Yeah. And with that, like how many people usually are in like institutional research offices, and how are how is the labor in a way divided? Is there usually someone who's like more technical and someone who's like more focused on the presentations, or is like everyone like doing taking on all sorts of hats in a way in the same
Mhm.
team?
Oh, that's so interesting, EOS. I've been part of the California Association for Institutional Research, which is our
Hmm.
governing, like our organization for institutional researchers in California. And so at these conferences, you meet a lot of folks from different institutions. And some places, especially community colleges or smaller colleges, the institutional research office is one person. And I always feel for them because, like I said, you need to be collaborative in order to create good work product. But they're doing great work. The way that it works at UC Berkeley is what we call a federated model. So we
Mm,
have a centralized institutional research office who does a lot of reporting to UC Office of the President for
mm,
federal reporting,
mm.
US News and World Report, those kinds of things. They're just really doing these sort of regular things and then maintaining the student data warehouse. And then um, there are folks like me, institutional research people in different divisions,
Yeah.
graduate division, student affairs, equity and inclusion. And we all are partners to each other, but we're not in the same office.
Yeah.
So we have like our own teams, but we try to keep in touch with each other, have communities of practice,
Hmm.
and validate each other's work, things like that. And so it's like you were describing each of us as a jack of all trades and master of none.
Okay. No, those are great. Things being having a learner mindset, this ability to tell a story, to present it carefully to your audience, and then this collaboration that you're emphasizing. Now I do want to move us now to just talking about like a product that you were able to share with us, and so if you don't mind sharing about the student pulse survey. I think the students in my class would really want to learn more about like how you created it, what things they should think about in terms of skills that they need to have in order to do something like it.
For sure. Yeah. Okay. So this is the website for the Student Pulse Survey at UC Berkeley. It started during the pandemic when we needed to know where physically are our students and what technical resources do they need in order to attend class and be successful during the pandemic. And then after the pandemic sort of subsided, I said, okay, that's enough. No more student pulse surveys, but people got addicted to the data and now we're still running them. Um, and so what we try to do is have surveys that are like maybe 5 minutes long
Mm,
and on timely topics that campus can do something about. So this is our website. We have results from all of the student pulse surveys here on the left. They're divided by semester. And if you take the student pulse survey, then you can win a $100 gift card.
wow.
So we have our $100 gift card
Wow.
prize winners here. And you can see this goes all the way back to 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can just take you into one of our latest student pulse surveys. And this is what the Tableau dashboard looks like.
Mhm.
I would say, doesn't have a lot of visualizations or anything because we're trying to get every single question, every response, and let folks filter by different demographic and academic characteristics.
Mhm.
So this is really like anybody can access this. It's publicly available, but it's really for the folks on campus, staff members and faculty members who are
Mm,
interested in changing their programs in order to better serve the
yeah.
students.
There's Gen AI. Can we look at Gen AI?
Everyone's so interested in generative AI. Okay. Uh, we had started asking generative AI questions a couple years ago on the Student Pulse survey, and we were like right away, just like everyone else, we were like, how often are you using it? Are you using it? And are you using it to cheat? But very quickly, we got past that. Like, I think if you talk to faculty who are really interested in generative AI, they're beyond our students cheating. They want to
Mm,
know, what do students want to learn about generative AI and
mhm.
how can my class address that need? So that was the question here. What aspect of generative AI do you want to learn about as part of your education at UC Berkeley? And you can see a lot of students want to learn about generative AI tools in the context of their own studies or research. And let's say I'm a professor in the Berkeley School of Education, and I'm like, well, do my students think this, or is this just mostly
Mm, mhm,
undergraduates? You know, what's
mm.
going on here? So you can go here to schools.
Oh, wow. Ha,
And
wow.
you can see that actually in the School of Education, students are interested in implications of generative AI for my discipline, which might be about cheating. And
Mm,
they're concerned about the ethics of
mhm, mhm.
AI. And and if you're just scanning over this, you can see there are big differences by
Yeah,
school. Another interesting, I don't think that it's as interesting for generative AI. So maybe I'll go to the housing
yeah.
search again, and we ask students, when did you start looking for housing? And what was the other question? How do you learn about housing options? Okay, so let's, instead of looking at schools, we can look at whether students are low income. And we have these two columns, low income and not low income.
Mhm,
And we can see that students who are low income are starting to look for housing in February,
mhm.
whereas those who are not low income are, a lot of them are able to stay in their current housing. So this is
Mm,
interesting. Maybe this is students who they get an increase in their rent and they're like, okay, that's fine, I can absorb that. But students who are low income, they see an increase in their rent and they say, I better start looking
yeah.
for different housing now.
Yeah. And this goes back to your point about like presentation and telling a
Mm,
story, right? That you were mentioning. I'm curious about the like the technical aspect of this as well.
yeah.
Can you tell us how difficult it was to to work on that? Like what things did you have in place for these like seemingly easy 5 minute surveys? Um,
That's such a good question. I would say that you need to be able to program a survey. That's very important. That's an important technical skill. But the more important skill to have is to use survey best practices to craft questions that are going to give you meaningful results.
mhm,
So when people come to us with their questions, they'll say, "Oh, I just want to know about like when students start looking for housing." And there are a lot of ways to ask that question, but because we have experience crafting surveys, we know how to ask the question and give response options that are going to give people the data they need.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other thing I want to highlight in what you said is that sometimes we just randomly ask questions without really thinking about it, like we just want the answers. But also,
Yes.
what are the questions we need to ask so that we can work on the things that actually we have ability to work on, right?
Yeah, that's exactly the question that you need to ask. So people are, I will give a recent example is there is a UC Berkeley safety app that just launched
Mm-hmm.
this semester. And so the folks who launched the app said, oh, well, we want to know what students want from this app. And so, as a whole survey working group, we came together and we said, well, like, do they not know what students want from their app? And
Mm-hmm.
then we looked at the app ourselves and we were trying to figure out all, and then we went back to them and said, we can ask some questions, but other things are probably better asked in a focus group. Or you need
Mm.
to give the safety app some time out there in the environment before we start asking some questions.
Yeah.
But the question that you asked, EOS, is what can we do about this? And
Yeah.
that's the number one question that we ask when people come to us is, do you just want to know because you're curious? Or what
Mm.
can you do about it? We're
Yeah.
not going to put it on the pulse survey if there's no action to be taken.
Yeah. This is great. And this is a great place to end, Audrey, because you have inspired me and I think inspired my students as well to think about the type of research, the type of ways that they can use their methodological training in a place like an institutional research office. So thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, you're very welcome. It's been really fun.
Okay.